Okay, how are we? So today we're going to look at the economic inequality in Italy. So yesterday I was teaching you that like in Ireland, not every region in Ireland has the same good economy, the same level of income or access to jobs. So it's the same in Italy. So you can see economic inequality in Italy as well. So we can divide Italy into two economic regions, the north of Italy and the south of Italy. Okay, so this is a very, very topical question as well in the Leaving Cert and the Leaving Cert geography. So it's very, very similar to the BMW region of Ireland and the south and east of Ireland. It's very much the same thing. So the north of Italy is the wealthy, productive region. Okay, so it's a wealthy, productive region. Good jobs, good economy. What's standing in their favour? I suppose what's going for them? They have a favourable climate, a good amount of sunshine, a good amount of rainfall, which allows for profitable good farming. They have a long growing season, so they've got just a perfect climate for the farming to be profitable there. Agriculture is very, very productive because the climate allows it to do so, especially in the Po Valley. This is a picture of the Po Valley and it just looks beautiful, and you can see by the grass and everything there, it's really well kept and maintained. They have rich alluvial soils. Alluvial soil is fertile soil, which is found at either side of a river. When a river floods, it deposits alluvium. So it's got rich alluvial soil, ideal for cereal production. And we know in farming the money is to be made in cereal and wheat crops and cereal production. You can see in the map there the picture of the Po Valley. So places like Verona and Milan and Turin and Genoa, not far away from there, like they're really benefiting from the fertile alluvial soils of the Po Valley. They can produce excellent wheat, rice, sunflowers, maize, vegetables. The more crops you can produce, the more you can supply the food market, the more money you make. That's a picture of a sunflower farm in the Po Valley. They've got suitable, nice, warm, hot sunshine conditions throughout the year to be able to grow those sunflowers. And they're needed. There's a big demand for them for sunflower oil and for sunflower seeds. What else have they got going for them? The north of Italy is one of Europe's greatest manufacturing centres. There's a lot of factories in Italy, a lot of clothes factories. Think about it, a lot of suits are made there, a lot of wedding dresses are made there. A lot of the big fashion designers, they make their clothes in fashion houses in Italy. Cars, a load of cars are made there. A lot of luxury leather goods are made there, handbags, things like that. So they have a lot of industries. So what industries would I be referring to? Fiat, the car industry, Benetton, the clothing industry, Gucci, very expensive clothing and accessory industry, Zanussi. So they're all located there. So Gucci produces leather goods and there's a huge market out there for them. And even producing the factory there, having a factory in Northern Italy for Gucci, that's creating jobs. Zanussi produces electrical appliances, and a load of us have Zanussi appliances in our homes. It's a very well known appliance product. So the fact that the north of Italy is attracting these industries in there and setting up there creates a lot of jobs, and people make money and they spend it locally. Other industries that they have is hydroelectric power. So they produce their own HEP water power in the Alps, because it's just literally it's sitting at the north of Italy, and that provides power for the manufacturing industries. So if I was thinking about locating my factory in Italy, I would think the north is definitely looking more prosperous, because I'll have no shortage of electricity supply because they're producing their own HEP power, which is brilliant. They also have excellent roads and railways. Even though it's the north and they're kind of literally bordering on the Alps there, they've built huge tunnels through the Alps, and they've really, really upped their infrastructure. So transportation of goods and people and services, spot on. Tunnels and passes connect northern Italy through the Alps to markets in France, Switzerland and Austria. Why is that important? Because you can sell all of your goods to those neighbouring countries, which is fantastic. That's just a picture of a tunnel in the north of Italy. So they didn't leave the obstacle of, the mountainous land at the very, very north of Italy stand in their way. They literally just bored a tunnel straight through it. Genoa is one of Europe's leading ports. You can see it there with the little A kind of marker written on it at the very, very north west coast of Italy there. So you can see Genoa, it's a fantastic port. Oh my God, well set up. Don't have a picture of it there for you. Really, really attracts manufacturing industries in, especially heavy ones for importing and exporting products. So that's standing, as a real advantage for them. The north of Italy has benefited from huge amounts of inward migration of young people from the south. The south is more poor, it's less prosperous. A load of young people migrate up, so that's skilled workforce, people to fill up the jobs, so that's good. The north of Italy is a great tourist industry. I mean, a lot of people in our school, even yourselves, have been to Italy at some stage. They've really, really good tourism industry between the winter sports in the Alps and even just the city breaks, visiting Venice and places like that. Tourists can go to lake resorts. They can travel along the Italian Riviera. Most of us are familiar with the French Riviera, but maybe you haven't heard of the Italian Riviera. So there's so many places that they want to visit along there because of the beautiful weather and spectacular coastline. Sure, look at it. I mean, it's absolutely fabulous. They can visit Venice if you want the touristy city destination. Okay, so there's a load up there to attract people in, whether it's workers, migrants coming in, or whether it's factories, or whether it's tourists. Let's compare the south of Italy now with the north of Italy, so it's the complete opposite. Now, the name for the south of Italy is the Mezzogiorno. So the Mezzogiorno is just the name for it, just to be aware of it. You'll see it in 5th and 6th year in geography. So what does this area include? It's the south of Italy plus the 2 islands of Sicily and Sardinia. It's a peripheral region. It lies on the very, very edge again. It's far away from Central Europe, like the BMW region of Ireland was. It's much, much poorer than the north. It doesn't see as much investment either, because most of the government activity happens up in the north. So they're kind of usually left stranded and with less investment. Much of the south has a very, very mountainous landscape, whereas the north of Italy, the mountain was really at the very, very tip top. Whereas the south, oh my God, like literally 80% of it nearly is covered in the Apennine Mountains. It's just so mountainous, and it really, really provides a big struggle. Hard to build roads, hard to build services, hard to attract in manufacturing industries. It just makes farming difficult as well. So, like I just said there, it makes farming difficult, hard to farm. You're limited in what farming you can do. They really suffer climate-wise from drought. They get such hot temperatures, very limited rainfall, so drought is a huge problem. So they're very limited agricultural-wise, so that limits incomes. Olive trees are a crop that will grow in drought-prone regions, so that's good for them. They can grow olive trees. Agricultural output is much lower in the south than it is in the north because of the mountainous land and the summer drought. So farms are too small to support a family, so people don't see it as profitable to do it. They do need a lot of irrigation, but that's very expensive and it's not sustainable. I mean, already in the news today, the water crowd in Ireland are begging people to stop wasting water and stop power hosing and watering plants and washing cars, because we've had so many dry days and more people are at home, and it's not sustainable. We won't keep this going during the summer if we don't conserve water. So what are they going to do over in Italy? Irrigation is confined to small areas along the narrow coastal lowlands. So you can kind of see the mountains running down the middle of the south of Italy there. You really are confined to either side of the coast. That's where the lowlands are. So that's where the irrigation is, because that's where the small farms are. They have suffered a lot of outward migration. Young people are just leaving. They call it the brain drain. All their young skilled people are leaving and going up to the north of Italy or elsewhere into Europe. Italian and foreign companies, like manufacturing industries and businesses, are less willing to invest down the south because it's just so far from the European markets. I mean, at least in the north of Italy, you're somewhat close to the rest of Europe, but in the south, you're just totally furthest away. They are very famous in the south of Italy for organised crime. The mafia is a huge problem down there. It scares a lot of people, it threatens a lot of people, it intimidates a lot of people. So as a business, you can understand why they would not want to locate down there. They would be afraid that they would be tied up in the mafia, or one of the mafia families come to work for you or something, or gets involved in your business and you're tied in with it then, and it's a scary setup down there. It really, really does affect business down there. They do have a lot of tourist attractions, and they do have a good tourism business industry, but it needs to be marketed more. Again, the Italian government are really focused on the north of Italy. The south of Italy is absolutely spectacular. There's a load, that they could do to market business or attract tourists, to come there. They have Mount Vesuvius, the active volcano. They have Pompeii. They have the Isle of Capri, which is spectacular. They have Sorrento. Just beautiful. Look at the coastline of it. So they have a lot more they could do to attract tourists in. The Casa scheme was something that the Italian government introduced to invest money in the south of Italy, because they kind of realised even in the 1950s, they realised, okay, the south of Italy is struggling in comparison to the north. So they introduced a scheme called the Casa scheme, but they're still struggling really. It has helped a bit, but they invested money into irrigation schemes to help the farmers. They built a big motorway connecting the south actually with the north of Italy. I mean, look at the size of it. My God almighty. The construction of that must have taken ages. They wanted to encourage trade between the north and the south for farmers and for industries and shops, etc. The motorway helped farmers to get their produce to markets up in the north and further into the EU. They educated farmers in using modern farming methods, know what crops to grow in times of drought, know what's suitable to the soil and the land, know what's suitable to the drought, etc. But all in all, they do still struggle. Okay, so I hope that helps.